Some Hebrew words are just so powerful that their meanings make the scriptures come alive. Here's a great example of how Hebrew scriptures can jump off the page when you learn their original meaning. Enjoy your Hebrew word of the day.
Shalom, I'm Shani Ferguson, and your Hebrew word for the day is Avraham. Now, many of you know that Abraham was not born with that name, though it is interesting that his parents named him Avram, meaning a great father, both in stature and status. And yet, he spent 100 years with no son. Somehow being a father was an incredibly strong part of his identity as a person. In fact, when God spoke of his devotion and commitment to being with and blessing Abram responded in Genesis 15, "Lord, what can you give me that will matter? I have no son to pass it to. A slave born in my house will inherit everything." To Abram, no manner of wealth had value even for temporary enjoyment if it would not outlive him and continue the story of his family, the story of who he was. It was this very attitude of, "I am nothing if not a father," that solidifies how much like God Abraham was. God changed Avram's name to Avraham as part of his response. He was saying, you're not just going to be a great father, you're going to be a father to a great many nations and peoples. Not only will your line continue and expand, but I will cause blessings to flow to other families through you and your descendants. Abraham wasn't perfect by any means, but there was something special, a secret ingredient to Abraham's father trait that designated him as the beginning of the line in which God would represent himself, send his Messiah, and ultimately save the world. Abraham knew how to reproduce himself, how to teach his children to teach their children. And that is what would make him more than just a great father, but a father of a great nation, and the father of a number of nations. I've heard people before tell me that while they admire the idea of passing on blessings from generation to generation, they themselves came from broken families, and they don't feel like they have anything positive to pass on from them. But perhaps the best part of how amazing Abraham's calling as a father of many nations is that he himself had to leave his idol-worshiping family and start from scratch by following the Lord to a distant land. And so, if you have many generations of God-fearing family members, continue their story of devotion and reap the blessings of their faithfulness and prayer. And if you are the first in your line to follow the Lord, do it as boldly and wholeheartedly as Avraham. And that is your Hebrew word for the day. Until next time, I'm Shani Ferguson. Shalom from Jerusalem.
Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, Palestinians, Gaza, what's happening in the Holy Land? Historic and modern events. Learn topics that you would never know unless you lived in the land of Israel. Join and subscribe to learn about these things and much more at Maoz Israel.